Folate, also known as vitamin B9, is an essential nutrient that our cells need, but we are learning from our research is that it's important to have adequate levels of folate. The data that we have got so far shows that the levels of folate are likely very important for cancer development.
These studies have really informed us about specifically where folate deficiencies might have their greatest impact. Some very specific cancers that there's very few therapies for. And so our findings will have an impact not only in our understanding of these processes, but will also impact the thinking about how we can use combinations of different chemotherapeutics or immune therapy in addition to dietary intervention. And those combinations could have a large impact on the cancer, in addition to the fact that we also want to prevent the initiation of the cancer. So knowing what your folate levels are throughout life will be important as well in terms of even reducing the incidence.
More broadly, we believe this establishes a direct link between dietary nutrients and specific genetic changes in cancer, and that this opens a whole area of research on how nutrients can alter genes to contribute to cancer development.
The understanding the molecular details of how this works is so important because we're really interested in fact-based evidence. And so what Guillermo has done is actually define the mechanism. And I have to emphasize that this is novel. People will make these statements and correlations, but no one has actually determined molecularly how this happens. That understanding molecularly how it works can also lead not only to changes in diet, perhaps, or dietary intervention, but also identification of new drugs and new biomarkers for this.